So welcome to ChromeTalkies, Rupa, Jaha. It is so nice to see you.
Thank you so much.
And I believe now you head the India business.
Yeah.
And there's a new company coming up, which is going to be taking care of the India business, which we shall chat of as we progress.
Yes.
So you are the editorial expert, Rupa. In today's day and age, and this is something again very close to me, the fact that content is less driven by values, but to a great extent driven by numbers, which again drive ratings and revenues. What is the ideal balance of getting the content which does good to the society vis-a-vis content that gets you good money?
You know,
that's a conflict of interest.
Absolutely. And I think a good content will always get you a good number. The unfortunate part is that we have stopped believing in this, that, content is the queen and the king, however you want to do it. Because journalism seriously has to be driven by content. And our own experience of the BBC and the ethos of BBC has been that, yes, numbers are important. You do want to kind of reach out to the relevant target audiences, and it all matters quite a bit. कि जंगल में मोर नाचा किसने देखा वाला हिसाब नहीं होना चाहिए. But I'll talk about
मोर नाचा live गया उसी के rating. Is that right?
हाँ, बिल्कुल सही बात है. तो ये कि if you see the ethos that drives BBC, and I'm representing BBC in the kind of journalism that we do and we believe in, even now, is that yes, we are guided by the analytics, but we are not driven by analytics. So we will not just start doing anything because it will give us some good numbers. And being an industry person, that it
fact
can.
Is that at the end of the day, it's a business for profit, right?
No, I don't believe that it has to be business for profit only, because journalism is a noble profession. It has to serve its public interest, and that's why we are in this profession.
So do you have to bow down to the pressures of your advertising sales teams or your distribution teams?
So I am in a very privileged position, Pankaj, and I really think that I hope that it continues to be this is how it has to be. It should be for a journalist. Particularly in the BBC, we don't have to bow down. And that's why, as I was saying just before in the pre-chat, that in my organization, editorial is the front and the center of the operation. And commercials are there, but they will never, lead.
Leaking out the name.
Yeah.
But one of India's leading dailies, every single page is up for sale.
Yeah.
Right? And you want to be on the page, you pay a print, and I don't know what word to use, but the fact is it misleading audiences to believe it's an editorial whereas actually it's an ad?
So paid news is a big challenge for media industry, as you know that.
And this is gone for the TV, the electronic medium as well, right?
Absolutely. And I think it really pains, and I'm not being dramatic over here. It just pains because when we chose to pick up journalism as a profession.
Have you got editorial awards so far in India? No, you can do that, because I know one of the leading events, there are awards. You go sponsor an event and you get the award.
Yeah. No, but we have got many awards, and thankfully we didn't have to pay for any award. We have got it on the merit, and I would like to believe so that there's still some space for pure journalism which is driven by passion, courage, and public interest. And that is exactly the spirit that anyone, you ask any young person who's joining journalism. Of course, there's a business of journalism, which is also very important. But since I am
when it's appraisal time for you,
yeah,
right? Is it about the best stories that you've aired, or do you parallelly have to sit with the revenue guy and take a call on whether it works for the audiences as well? How do you know what you're airing works for an audience or not?
So we have lot of system in place on a daily basis. As you know that with digital, it's not at all tough. There's so many systems in place where on real-time basis, you see what is working, what is not working. The point I'm trying to make is that some content may not be working for your audience, but this is the difference that we want to make, that even if it's not working for your audience and you think that this is an important piece of content, it is, and some piece of content will work. I mean, you do something on sex and pornography or, astrology, it'll fly like this.
Yes.
But is that the mission of your journalism in the space that you are operating? So one has to be extremely clear. And you're talking about the appraisal. Thankfully, when I sit for my appraisal or when I do appraisal, my staff, revenue doesn't come. What comes is that how we are connecting with the audience. Are we relevant to the audience? And that is a very, very important question, because audience remains at the center of whatever we do. And audience, it is not only driven by profit. I really want to break that myth that audience come only when you serve them. It's all about, we make bad movies because that's what audiences want. No, you make good movies, people will come.
That takes me to my next question on data. As far as India is concerned as a market, if I was to rank you across all news channels, the leading news channels, You rank somewhere at number 7. Is that a good position to be, and what are you doing about it?
Well, no, I mean, it's about what really brings you that position. I think the kind of journalism we are doing and where we are also catering to a very niche audience. See, one has to be realistic about the ambition and the gap we are filling in the market. We cannot be competing with, Aaj Taks and ABVPs and all of those, the very big operating machines over
But
here.
they are more specific to India and the Indian diaspora abroad.
Absolutely. And we are operating in a space which fills that gap of we are bringing world to India or taking India to the world. We are catering to a niche audience. Yes, we are at number 7 when you compare it with the domestic, Indian domestic channels. But when you look at the international, consistently we are number 1. We are number 1. Though we are not number games, but since you're asking about numbers, we are number 1. And look at the time spent that we have on the channel.
So global channels, whom do you factor in the consideration? So there is like, you've got CNN, you've got BBC, Al Jazeera.
Do
you take Beyond in that set?
No, I don't think we pick up Beyond, not yet.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, Al Jazeera, CNN. I mean, these two are the main competitors.
Yeah.
So the time spent is like, really, if I look at my number, it says 8 minutes, 11 seconds, which is quite a bit.
8 minutes on an average, with a market leader at about 12 minutes, which goes on to prove the fact that as far as the content acceptance is concerned, it's pretty high.
Yeah.
But the gap that lies does not come from the quality of content. It probably comes from the fact that your distribution or your reach, as per the Chrome track data, stands at 40%.
Yeah.
Vis-a-vis the market leaders that you named, Aaj Tak and ABP, are almost 100%. So investments in distribution in India to get the market broader appeal, or you're going to be focusing more on, I'm talking the linear side.
Yeah,
or
of
you're
course.
focusing primarily on the digital side.
See, we are, BBC as the organization is certainly focusing on digital and digital transformation. We have been a traditional legacy, brand where linear has been very important, but we understand that future holds for digital. Having said that, India is such an important market for us. We know that India became number 1 international market for past 5 years. We are number 1. We have pushed back America ko or Africa ko, jahan आपका soft corner होगा.
No, I don't have any soft corner American or.
Anyway, so India has become the top market, international, global market for BBC. So BBC is extremely conscious of that what is the headroom for growth. So certainly there are, strategies and considerations which you'll get to know in coming years. But there is a very conscious effort to get more into the market, in Indian market, and hold that space.
So Rupa, you've raised a good point, but what is very important, just for academic interest for both of us, India still continues to be a linear market. Most of the broadcasters that you talk about, they derive almost 90% of their revenues from linear.
Yeah.
Digital is just at about 10%.
Yeah.
Right? And you're still focusing primarily on digital.
Yeah, because we are futuristic. We are not. We're not going to be only looking what's happening in next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. I mean, I know that you know it more than anybody else, being the insider industry person, that digital is the future. And slowly all the linear platforms, as you see, investing heavily now on digital. Yes, today broadcast is extremely important in India, though radio has kind of declined quite a bit. Podcast is coming in a big way. But having said that, digital is the future.
Aaj Tak, for an example that you named, gets almost 50% incremental reach over and above linear through digital. So we are on the same page. Digital is the future. To a great extent, it is here. And all these big guys that we spoke about make a huge amount of money on digital, despite it being 10%, and the number is exponentially growing as we move along. Specific to BBC, and this is specific only to international brands, how do you manage diverse audiences in India and across the globe? For example, India itself is 22 languages, right? Multicultures and taste, everything is so different, right? So how do you cater to multiple audiences digitally? And I'm asking you, since you spoke about digital, what are the digital strategies, since digital is so addressable, to target specific audiences?
Thank you for this question. And that's why India becomes a very exciting market, that we have a diverse audience, because India is a very diverse country. So BBC has been operating in just 2 languages for many years, Hindi and Tamil. Those were the 2 big languages from India. Then of course we had Urdu, we have Bengali, English, definitely. And then in 2016, because of the opportunity that Indian market was giving us, that we expanded in 4 new languages. See, we cannot be everywhere, because we have to be selective where we put our, and we are public service broadcaster. We have limited amount of money that we have to invest. So we expanded in 4 new languages, and those are the languages of growth: Tamil, Telugu. Tamil, of course, we had Telugu, Punjabi, Gujarati, Marathi.
Yeah.
So now we have the bouquet of 9 languages in total from India, and this led to we increased like 4 times since that expansion.
Right.
So catering to diverse audience, I think that is how World Service, which is the multilingual language side of BBC, we understand that it is important that you can't be just a translation service, that whatever is happening in English, you translate and bring it to the audience. Audiences are very discerning now, and there is no more just one BBC that they will come to BBC to listen if news really matters. So we have really reinvented ourselves by doing and investing in original journalism, in becoming more and more indigenous brand rather than
Sorry to cut you, but would you invest in research to understand what different markets want?
Yeah,
accordingly
we
you
do
cater
that.
the content?
Absolutely.
And, let me give you an example, a very, very good example, an example very close to my data side of understanding. There was once a bridge collapsed that happened many, many years ago in Calcutta. And there were 2 news channels that we studied. One spoke about the damages and the cause of the bridge crash. The other spoke about the impact on humans. The latter got the numbers. So that's research. You're saying the same thing, that a bridge collapsed and unfortunately so many people died. But what stand do you take? Do you take the commercial side or do you take the humanitarian side?
So I think the stories really connect the connection happens when there's an emotional connect. When I think, why should I care, And that care thing comes from when I'm trying to understand, the audience tries to understand how and whys of the incident. And I think BBC does a lot of research, audience insight research, before anything that we launch. And that has really helped us to understand what is the gap that BBC can fill in this market? What is our mission statement in this market? Why BBC should exist in India when there are plethora of television channels.
How big is the team now in India?
So we have around 300 people in India.
And that's primarily into content creation, which gets commissioned globally, and you serve as a service provider for the global.
Yes, we run the services here.
I'm not talking the documentary side. You're talking the news side, the documentary as well.
Of course, documentary is a side of thing, but we are primarily in the news side of things. So we serve the Indian audiences, and we also cater to the global audiences sitting in UK. So that is our primary job, that how do we cover India for rest of the globe and for India for Indians, how BBC covers.
So that takes me to the next question. You are so passionate about content and editorial. Numbers do not rate in India, right? Globally, what are your numbers like?
Well, they are quite good. Within BBC, as I said, it's really remarkable how we have grown. So across the globe, BBC's number on a weekly basis is 411 million per week.
Yeah, that's right. But that's across all platforms put together.
Yeah.
So that's 411 unique people you touch across the globe on a week. And what would the India number be for that?
It's 72 million.
72 million is going to be, the highest paid channel in India is at about 42 million. You couldn't be possibly 70 million.
No, we are. And as you know, the trust is something that is the big bag that BBC...
You're referring to one stream, or you're referring to the entire BBC as a group?
No, of course, entire. It is about television, about BBC News, digital, across all the platforms that we operate from India. We are 72 million per week, and these are all deduplicated numbers, which is like a really pure number.
Fair point. I get that's complete unique audiences, number of people who viewed the content at least once for the week. Fair. That's a very healthy number. So Rupa, that takes me to the next one, which is again very, very interesting, and you may choose to evade it.
No. I will take all answers. I am not a politician.
Yeah. So
a journalist.
you went ahead. BBC went ahead and aired I could call it a controversial documentary on the sitting Prime Minister about a year back, right? As a viewer, people believe there was a vested interest, anti-establishment interest. Is that true? And why would you do that?
No, that's not at all true. BBC is not anti-establishment, pro-establishment.
That did put the current Prime Minister in a very negative light.
See, our job is not to put anyone in negative or positive light. Our job is in pursuit of truth and fact. It was a story. It was, and we do it across the globe. We did one on Erdogan. We did one on Putin. And every time, as you understand, that establishment will never like to be questioned, right? So that's the job of the journalist. We are not the cheerleaders. We are here to critically analyze everything and to hold power to account. That is our job. unfortunately, journalism now, especially in India, we tend to forget that.
That's right. Did you see your numbers dip after the documentary in India?
Thank you for asking me that question, because we did want to understand that
And
what
I'll tell you
happened.
why I asked that question, because it's in the public domain, and the fact that the country is hugely inclined at this point in time, since you're working with a couple of political parties as well, there's a huge probability of the existing ruling party to continue, and
Yeah, it's
masses
democracy.
seem to be happy. Masses seem to be very happy with the existing establishment.
So, Pankaj,
going against that is
No, we're not
practically
going
against the
No,
viewers.
I'm just trying
That's
to
how
put-
the documentary was perceived.
Yeah, that, I mean, it could be, like this is how, because we are living in such polarized world, Pankaj, that, we want to believe what we want to believe. We have lost our pursuit of truth and fact. So I don't want to contest if people felt it that way. They are absolutely, it's a democracy, and democracy, the beauty of democracy is that, you allow diverse.
Allow me to ask you as an
Yeah.
editorial head.
So you
The
asked
Ram
me that
Mandir-
question.
I'll ask another one.
I want to answer that question, whether the trust dipped. So it did dip, and then we have our research which shows that it has come back again. So we are so pleased that, that is why I say that we take audiences for granted and we really think they're dumb. They're not. They're very smart. They want journalism to be free, fair, courageous. And that is when they get it, they stand by it.
Absolutely. 22nd of January, Ram Mandir. I actually witnessed a Diwali that night in Delhi on that very day. It was a national event. Would BBC or you as an editorial head want to do a documentary around the Ram Mandir and how beautifully it was accepted by the country?
Yeah, we did that. We did that, how beautifully it was accepted and how millions and millions were so happy. And we also showed that what was the context of that, what is the history of that. So our job is not just to be at the surface of any story. Our job is in this market and across the globe is to go beyond the headlines. So what was history? In fact, I want to bring this, that our most watched video offer of that week is the history of Ram Mandir Babri Mosque.
Yeah.
So you understand the need of the market, need of the audiences. They want to know, they want to go beyond. It doesn't suit many people in the business to go beyond the headlines. So we just operate at that, at that level, which creates that euphoria, one polarized view of things. So we did that cover, and we covered it quite extensively, that what it really meant, how the property prices have gone up, how people are related. But we also showed that what it means for the Republic of India, what it means for a big segment of this country, what it means for Muslims across the globe, across the country. So we gave a 360-degree view of any story.
Yeah, and I think we should agree on one fact, that India continues to be the world's largest democracy, owing to the simple fact that you went ahead and aired a documentary
Absolutely.
against the Prime Minister, and you're still doing business in India.
And that is
Does
the
that
beauty.
speak volumes about the governance in
Absolutely.
India?
No, that speaks volume about the strength of India and strength of the institution. So, that is the beauty of this country and the system that we operate. And I really hope that we can, save this space.
I couldn't agree more with you.
Yeah, exactly. And journalism is all about speaking, as we say, that people want to tell you, whatever they want to tell you is all advertisement. What they don't want to hear is the news.
Absolutely.
So we have to
I
keep
agree
that
with
in
you
mind.
on that. Tell
Thank
me
you.
about Collective Newsroom Private Limited.
Oh, I'm going to do this.
When the coming, what's the whole thing?
So, as you must have seen, it was announced last year in December because of the FDI rules in India, which says that any foreign entity cannot own more than 26%. So that led to think us very, in a very radical way. So that radical thinking has led to Collective Newsroom, the birth of Collective Newsroom. I'll be leading on that. So the India operation of BBC.
So the entire 300 set moves here?
Yeah. So the languages bit moves here. All the 6 languages that operate, all those languages which is catering Indian audiences primarily, moves under Collective. And we, of course, English, which is on YouTube, moves under Collective. So yeah, almost 300 people move into Collective in April. So we will be starting a new journey.
Fantastic.
But very much serving the audiences that BBC has been serving.
Fantastic. 300 people is a decent set of people, and I'm sure you're going to be expanding as well. You want to talk anything about leadership skills? Since I run a company, so what matters to me, leadership skills, and my thing is being pally with them, right? Being pally with people. They should always come with a sense of ownership to office every single day. What is your mantra for being a good leader?
My mantra is what I always remember, that people remember how you make them feel.
Yeah.
And I always remind myself that, how I make them feel. I think BBC also emphasizes a lot on the emotional quotient, on the empathy, on the authentic leadership, which all means what you said, making people feel enabled, empowered, having, active listening, being courageous and leading from the front, all those good words.
And paying them in dollars, right?
Paying them good salary, paying them in dollars and pounds, I don't know, but yes, taking care of their well-being is extremely important, and also giving them that, that safety net, and which is in journalism, I can tell you, Pankaj, I'm on the editorial side, I'll tell you, it is extremely lonely and difficult journey now for journalism in this country, and it is extremely rewarding to feel that safety net, that team.
I can sympathize with you. The fact is that it is not a level playing field, because you've got people competing and they would hear anything in the name of editorial to drive in revenues or to drive in eyeballs, which is the irony of the fact. But you will have a strict guidelines of do's and don'ts.
Absolutely, very strict. And that's why I said that we are not driven by numbers, we are guided by them. So it is absolutely imperative that we never can forget that audience, why we are here in this market or anywhere in the globe. We have to serve the public interest. We have to keep in mind that we are here to, to educate, entertain, and to kind of, that mission statement is very clear, that we explain the world around you.
Yes.
And that world, of course, involves entertainment and documentaries and environment, but that is where our journalism stands.
Absolutely. Have you even wondered why I called you to ChromeTalkies? So I grew up in a country called Sudan, and the capital was Khartoum.
Cover it like how?
Khartoum was the capital. It was a beautiful, beautiful country way back in the 80s when I was growing up, and we stayed in an apartment right next to the airport. So the two things that I remember as a kid, my dad had this small radio, and that radio would actually intercept the frequencies between the cockpit and the control tower. So I actually used to spend the day during, or at least on a Sunday and a Friday. Friday and Sundays used to be the two offs. You could hear the communication between the two, between the plane and the airport. And the other thing that I grew up listening was BBC.
Oh.
BBC World, it was that radio, that thing that we've grown up. And that's why I always wanted to chat up on BBC.
Thank you so much.
We will meet again, and we will meet again when collective Newsroom is fully established. And
Absolutely.
Lots to chat up on BBC and what BBC does globally.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed, and I must say that I just love the way you conduct your interviews, because it's so informal, candid, and that is how it should be. I just hate those
BBC
corporate
sir wearing a jacket, by the way. Yeah?
I didn't come wearing a jacket. I was like, no way.
Thank you for coming
so
down,
much.
Rupa.
Thank
you so much. Thank you, guys.